Hello, Facebook world. My name is Neil Thrussell, and I'm with the Shin Institute. And I am super excited to have my friend, and don't tell him, but sometimes he's actually my mentor. Don't tell him. And my friend James Downie, who's I think picking people way out of the country here. James is living the life of Riley in Mexico. So welcome to Spiritual Warriors Wisdom, James.
Well, thank you, Neil. And yeah, I think the whole mentor thing is mutual, but I'm not going to tell anybody either.
Woohoo! so so James is to me is living a great life. He loves what he does. He does it very well. And as the reward, he's getting to live in a country of his choice with tropical beaches, sand, and he's living in Mexico. And it takes a little bit of warrior energy to be able to manage that. So just out as an aside, before we get into the spiritual part of it, what drew you no, I shouldn't say what drew you. What keeps you motivated to do what you do?
What keeps me motivated? You know what? I guess for me, it all starts with life is a choice. So the first thing is we get to choose what we believe in. And I decided at some point that I didn't really believe in snow and cold at wintertime. So that's what got me to Mexico. And, even though I'm here, I still have an opportunity to affect people in many parts of the world, which is the joy of, internet and that sort of thing. So, for me, it's making sure everybody understands the life they're living is their choice.
Sweet, thank you. And that's a beautiful segue. So, spirituality. At what point in time did you realize your own version of spirituality was a choice?
Just tonight when I said that, that was it. No, I, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's been a journey. I mean, as a kid, I was raised in a fairly traditional church environment. Helped my dad teach Sunday school, and got to have a pretty good foundation in traditional religion. Somewhere around the time I was in my early 20s, I started reading books like Think and Grow Rich. So I started to pay more attention to my thoughts and what was going on. And then I think, like a lot of other people in their 20s, life got busy and things seemed to be more about, the job and getting married and doing things like that. I don't think I really sort of really re-engaged sort of at least the intellectual pursuit around spirituality until somewhere around 1996. I read Celestine Prophecy, and that sort of just opened up a whole nother dimension. And since then, I think it's been more of a straight line, but I don't think spirituality really is a straight line. We're always on the journey, and if you get wrapped up too much in the understanding and the journey, then you miss today. And so I try not to miss today.
I'd forgotten about the Celestian Prophecy, and because about the same time for me, like it's a wonderful book, and if you haven't read it, James and I highly recommend you read it. The other one for me was The Alchemist by my favorite author, Paulo Coelho. So have you got another book that you absolutely love for your spiritual journey?
Like a lot of people, probably The Power of Now was transformational for me. It was one of those books that I know for a lot of people, you know how when you're reading a book, if it's not the right time for you to be reading that book, because then it's difficult. I've talked to lots of people. Well, that book is very difficult to understand and to read, and for me, it wasn't. It was just this. I was ready for what it had to say, and I've done lots of personal development work, read lots of stuff, and I I cottoned on to the Course in Miracles a number of years ago, and that was written in the 70s, and it seems to really encapsulate a lot of the. I mean, it seems maybe not the source material, but it, somewhere it's sort of like there's this tree that was planted that has all of this information, and there are all these different branches of this tree, but somewhere down at the source, it's all the same thing.
Yes, very much. That's, yeah. It's a great analogy. Some call it the tree of life, and you just use the tree of life in a different way. So that's really cool. Thanks. So you said you were raised in a traditional church-going environment, and then you've discovered the Celestium prophecy. Then was this at the same time as you were molding yourself in personal growth, or was one ahead of the other, one behind?
Celestine prophecy was at a time when my marriage was coming unglued, and that book just seemed to really be a piece of sort of reclaiming my life. At the time, I had a 3-year-old son, and my wife at the time wandered away to find herself, which can be a tough journey. And suddenly I found myself a single dad raising a 3-year-old, which sort of wasn't my vision of what family life should look like. And, I think Celestine prophecy and material like that really allowed me to sort of understand that she didn't do anything to me. She just did what she did. That was her path in life, and I had a different one. And, I needed to understand that, because I think we often go through life thinking that things are done to us. So then we need to be defensive, and we need to put up barriers. And but no, life unfolds for each of us in the way it's meant to. And other people aren't doing things to us; they're just following their unfolding path. And so, if I wanted to be resentful or angry, not that there wasn't some of that, but that's the sort of material that really allowed me to ground back into my life and to be a good father. I mean, you can't be an angry, resentful, vindictive person when you have a 3-year-old that you're responsible for. It doesn't work for either of you.
Look, Cat just jumped up on my lap. He's normally out of the room, but oh well. So I was going to say, so what lessons did you learn from this book? But you already beat me to the punch. So do you have another, like I have Paulo Coelho's, I love Think and Grow Rich. Have you got another favorite book, or you'd like to share with us?
Nothing that comes to mind in the moment. I mean, there's certainly material like The Secret that was profound for me. There were a couple of movies. The one I'm thinking of, I can't remember the name, but had some really cute scenes about sort of the chemical things that are going through our body and the reaction that we're having to them. I think, and as powerful as books and movies are, I've certainly had some amazing people show up in my life at the right time. People like Zale and T. Harv Eker and Sachin, and just some really amazing people. And not that they were people that had everything all figured out, but they had something figured out that I didn't. And to be able to transfer that to me and allow me to integrate it into my life and change the course of my life, it's been really amazing. So I think, to be open to books and movies is one thing, but I actually think people show up in our lives when they're meant to, because there's something for us to learn from them. And we just need to be open to that.
Sweet. That's wonderful. So let's say I'm someone just starting out on my journey. How would you suggest or help me along my journey? What would you suggest as an introductory thing? Something you would wish to share with someone that's just starting their journey that may or may not help them along their path.
Whoops, sorry. That was my lighting that fell apart, but no problem. That's what I get for rigging stuff up. What would I suggest? I I don't know that there's a particular book. I think things show up in our life when we're ready to receive them. So I think the first part is for somebody to actually evaluate, is their life working for them? Um, Given that we get to choose what we believe in, it is, then the next question is what I believe in allowing me to have a life full of joy? Is it allowing me to have a life that's peaceful? Is it allowing me a life that's full of connection? Is it allowing me to have a life full of love? And if what I believe in is not allowing that, then it's time to start looking at those beliefs. And, whether that's going to a seminar or finding somebody that has some part of the life that you would like to integrate, or maybe it is a book. But there are lots of great books. I mean, The Power of Now certainly is a good place to start. But if you start in that book and it's not speaking to you, then it's not a good place to start.
Yes. I really, if I was to make up or paraphrase spirituality to you, or one of the precepts of spirituality is the power of choice.
Well, it's even beyond the power of choice, although that certainly is what I'm saying. But I think it's that we are already choosing the life that we have, no matter what it looks like. We're already choosing. So not just that we have a life of choice, but that we've already chosen. And if it's not the life that we want, it's time to choose again.
And again. And again.
Yes, repeatedly we
Yeah.
choose. Yeah.
So I really skipped over. I usually just jump right in and get us into a conversation and start talking. Well, we're having technical. Whoa, now I just lost my monitor. We're just having technical issues today, but that's okay. So if people are resonating with what you are saying, or have any, they just think you're a cool dude and want to learn more, how would people, what's the best way for someone listening to this today to get a hold of you?
Yeah, if somebody's interested in sort of the structured part of what I do, then jamesdownie.com is the best place to go. It's James and then DOWNIE.com. If somebody's sort of interested in what does life look like in Mexico, I don't get into business at all, but you can check out what life looks like on Facebook land, which is Facebook/the James Downie. But yeah, I just get that a lot of people are in this lost place. They're working at jobs maybe that use skills that they're good at, but it's not necessarily fulfilling. Lots of people, the 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 dissatisfaction in their lives is showing up in their bodies, whether it's gained weight or stressed out or not sleeping well. And it's time to choose differently. So on my website, that's the sort of thing that I talk about is making different choices.
And I've known James, I don't know how long, 15 years. It's just been a long time. But one of the ways that I really know James is James helps put on probably one of the most powerful workshops out there. It's called the Mastery of Self-Expression. And if you're on a journey and you're looking for who you are and you want a voice, cannot recommend the Mastery of Self-Expression more highly than you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it. And that's not a plug for me. I make no commission off of it. Um, James sometimes gets a few bucks for doing it, but he's not the one promoting it right here. It's me, and I make no kickback or nothing. It's just something I believe everyone should do.
Yeah, Neil, actually, all the work I've ever done with Mastery has been volunteering my time, so I don't get paid either. But one of the things that just lights me up is seeing people show up on a Friday night at a seminar. Um, and to me, it's I don't know if you've ever seen a handful of seeds. This is my analogy. If you've ever seen a handful of seeds, pour them out of the package in these little brown wrinkled things. I think a lot of us show up on a Friday night when life has kind of sucked the life out of us, and a lot of people, that's what they look like to me. Like they're just these little, dried out brown seeds with so much potential. And what I love to see is literally in 48 hours, slightly longer than that, we get to see people bloom and blossom, and all it takes is some connection and some looking and some understanding and some willingness, and every bloom is different. So I think that we have a thought as human beings that to live an amazing fulfilled life takes a tremendous amount of work, and I think it takes a tremendous amount of willingness and a tremendous amount of dedication, but I don't think it takes a lot of time. And I don't think it necessarily takes the kind of effort that allows us to say, I'm not going to do that. Because literally, people can transform their life in 48 hours. And that to me is one of the most, um, it's one of the most amazing things to see, from one human being to another, is to see people bloom into their potential, and to let go of the things that are in their way of being who they're truly meant to be.
And yeah, from a spiritual context, it takes so much energy to hold on to all of our limiting beliefs. And when we just allow them to and let go and put our energy towards focusing on a new beliefs with that same amount of energy, life is phenomenal. You can find yourself in Mexico. You can be doing crazy things. You can be an author like me and write 3 best-selling books from a guy that just woke up one night and said, I need to write a book. And his wife looked at him and went, okay.
As she often does with you.
Yeah. So yeah, life is a journey, and when we embrace life, to me, when we embrace life as what is possible, as opposed to what I know it to be and how I perceive it to be, and hold on tight to what happened in the past, as opposed to the new possibilities. Um, those that don't know James, that's what I love about holding conversations with James. Is one of his favorite ones. Well, how would this look like? He likes to add this. What would it look like? What would be different? That's what I love. He's challenges. I think it's innate in him by now. It's ingrained in him, so that it's just who he is and what he does as a coach, as a human being. It's what he's looking for. How can I experience this in better? So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just all of a sudden went off on a tangent, but that's okay. So let's come back to spirituality. So what isn't spirituality to you? So that's a crazy loaded question, so I'll let you just sort of sit there. So what do you believe is not spirituality?
I don't, you know what? I probably should have looked up the definition of spirituality before I got on this call, because it's not a word I actually use much. I think our life reflects what we believe in. So I don't know if it's spirituality, but what I believe is that we're all connected. That there's an unlimited energy source that we get to tap into, and you can call it whatever you like. Um, but mostly I just think that life is meant to be filled with joy and experiences. It's meant to be about love and connection. And if you believe that we're all connected, then why would you not help out a fellow human being? And I think that for most of us, particularly in North American culture, we've been taught that there's this competition going on, And I think we can get wrapped up in that there's this competition and that we need to be defensive and that the other person is out to get something from us. And I don't really believe that. And I don't really believe that it's limited, you know. So oftentimes it sort of feels like, you know, if I'm in negotiations, I need to figure out a way to get more than the other guy because there's only enough for one of us. And it's like, no, there's enough for everybody. And I get different people require different amounts of energy or different amounts of, of money or whatever. But a lot of that is just childhood beliefs of what life is supposed to look like for me to be happy. But you have to really stop and look at, you know, are the things that you believe in and the things that you're doing actually creating happiness for you? Are they creating joy? Are they creating experiences that you look forward to? I mean, do you jump out of bed in the morning because you're excited about your life or not? And so, you know, spirituality to me is just the things I believe in, and the things I believe in are either helping me to be happier and joyful and peaceful and connected, or they're not. And if they're not, I need to change some beliefs. So I don't really know even what spirituality means. I just know that we're meant to be, you know, joyous and fulfilled and having amazing lives. And not everybody is. And there's no reason for that.
So thank you. So to the answer to my question, everything that you said, the opposite of it is not spirituality. So limited beliefs, limited the lack of love in certain is what you would say would be not not spirituality. So love is spirituality is the love and the essence of caring. And he's
Okay?
going, yeah, that's okay. So for some, the definition of spirituality can be simply as recognizing that there's a universal source or the universal connection. As you said, that's pretty much a definition of spirituality. Interconnectedness is all the source of oneness, but the source, the void, that's all works. And then we just, to fit into our little cubicle of definition, then we break it down because I believe in this deity or I believe in God in this particular color and flavor, and this God is a woman, God is a man, God is whatever. Yeah, to me, it's our, how we paint the oneness, which actually in my book takes us away from the oneness as soon as we try to paint it.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine say that his goal in life was to live a life without labels. I didn't really understand that when he first mentioned it to me, but you know, I really get that that's part of the smallness of being a human being, where we want to put things into little cubicles. We want to give them labels. Then we want to have discussions about the labels and whose label is right and whose label is wrong. And but any of that that gets in the way of just living a joyful, peaceful life is not useful. It's not a useful conversation as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if you have great joy in having discussions about any of the topics, then terrific. Find somebody else who has great joy in having discussions about anything we've talked about. But if it becomes this exercise in winning something or being right about something, it's probably not bringing you any joy, and it's certainly not going to bring you or the other person any peace. So I think that's part of the having an amazing life, is to start looking at where are our thoughts going and where are they leading. And so, you know, even labeling something spirituality, to me, it's like, well, it's just another thought system that we have. But the question is the thought system you have leading you closer to having a joyful life and a peaceful life, or away from it? That's the question.
It's a beautiful question. So for those, we still have a few minutes, but I'd like to read, for those that are being drawn or like to get to know James a little better, because there might be some synergy, some energies working with James. James is a wonderful coach. You can get a hold of James at jamesdownie.com. Or you can look him up on Facebook at the James Downie. Was it that? The James Downie? Yeah.
It is. A little pretentious, but oh well.
Yeah. So, and yeah, don't be shy, but don't be a stalker. That's my job. James doesn't bite, and yeah, we're all anyone that's been on my show is looking to help and spread more joy and love in the world, because it's really what, if you've listened to everything that James said, it's about spreading joy and love, and that's his, to me, paraphrasing Ian, that's his spirituality. Would be his mantra. If it's not fun and joyful, why am I doing it?
Yep. Yeah, and it's about asking ourselves really good questions, Like, if I could live anywhere in the world, where would I like to live? If I could do anything for an occupation, what would I want to do? And I think sometimes we end up in a little box and it feels like a dead end, but I think every room has doors, many doors. And so we really need to look at that. And I'm certainly happy for people to reach out, and through the website, and Facebook is certainly a slightly convoluted one. My email address is just james@jamesdownie.com. So, if anybody has a question or a concern, or I've raised something that they want to have a discussion about, absolutely. I certainly don't want to get into the kind of discussion that's about defending anything, but if somebody has a question about how they can make some changes in their life that will improve it, I'm more than happy to have that conversation, absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent clarity, and thank you for bringing some clarity to that. Because James probably isn't a good one to offer you vegan recipes, or how to hold your next seance, but how to live a powerful life is great. So we're out of time, so I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, because you could have been on the beach, or you could have been
I still can.
You could have been coaching, or doing something equally as productive. So thank you. And
I really want to thank you, Neil. I think one of the parts of people living a greater life is knowing that it's a possibility. And so I really appreciate you doing a show like this that is hopefully opening up some minds, or maybe just confirming to some people that they're on the right path, that they're making changes in their life that are leading to a better life. And, those things happen because of people like you. So I really appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you. And we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye, Facebook land.
Bye.